Good afternoon and welcome to today's webinar, which is titled Simplify and Modernize Your Journey to SAP HANA. This webinar is brought to you by Express Computer in partnership with IBM. I am Mohit Rathod, Senior Correspondent with Express Computer. As your business needs change, so do the demands on SAP HANA and its underlying infrastructure. While you may have an estimated capacity for the coming year, your actual capacity could vary. Your infrastructure needs to easily accommodate these possible fluctuations without having to invest in additional systems. To maximize performance and throughput, it is critical to evaluate the memory scalability in scale up and scale out approaches. SAP recommends scaling up as far as possible. At the same time, it is equally important to choose an infrastructure platform that lets you optimize your SAP environment and operations while preparing you for the future. Understanding the critical importance of SAP HANA in an organization's digital transformation journey, this webinar is focused on helping your organization simplify and modernize your journey to SAP HANA. But before we take the session forward, I will read out some of the information about this webinar. This is an audio and video webinar which is being broadcasted live and will be available as on demand. We will have a round of Q&A at the end of the webinar. However, you can send in your questions at any time during the webinar using the questions text box. If you face any technical issues, please try to refresh your browser or else reach out to our team using the same questions text box. If you have any further questions or if you wish to interact with the speakers, please leave a comment using the questions box and the IBM team will contact you post the webinar. So that's all from my side. That's all from my side now. Without taking much of your time, I would like to invite our first speaker for the day, Satyam Jha, Director Technology Consulting, EY. Satyam, the floor is all yours.
Welcome, everyone. Happy to get connected and hope things are safe at everybody's end. We would have really loved to have all 75 people in front of us. However, let me imagine 75 crowd and take our session ahead. Myself, Satyam Jha. I'm a director in EY's technology consulting practice. I've been with EY for almost 8 years now. Have been advising clients across their technology roadmap journey, especially SAP. Have been fortunate to work with SAP prior to joining EY. It is important to note that while we discuss about accelerating SAP transformation, transformation word is very key in this journey. Can we move ahead to the next slide, Mohit? Transformation is a key, and this is where EY plays a very important role. Just to share with you, most of you would be aware, we were fortunate to be the torch bearers in S4HANA journey for the country. The first S4HANA implementation in India was done by EY India team at Mangalam Cements. And since then, it has been an amazing journey. We have had more than 90 plus S4HANA customers across different kind of projects, have been acknowledged by SAP year on year. Till recently, a couple of weeks back at the Partner Summit, we were being awarded as the best implementation partner. And most of the credit goes to the customers who have acknowledged what we bring on the table. Let me take you in a brief trailer on what S4HANA is there, while most of you would have anyway known from the functionality standpoint. But it is important to acknowledge what the journey entails. This is an amazing opportunity for each and every person who plans to embark upon this journey to treat this as a business transformation project. S4HANA brings immense amount of new functionalities, performance, technical advancements. But from a project standpoint, it is important that when you plan the project, you identify the areas of improvement well in time. You identify the areas of automation, not only from business automation perspective, but also during the project, what automation you bring on the table. What are the new processes that you can adopt? What EY brings on the table is not only the functionalities and leading practices that SAP has embedded within S/4HANA, at the same time, EY process depot across industries. We try and ensure that customers leverage that during this transformation journey. The innovation areas of robotic process automation or things like your existing processes or customizations or niche solutions that you would have developed within SAP ECC needs to be acknowledged. We need to ensure that we very carefully sanitize it and take it to the new platform. All this transformation journey is incomplete if it is not powered by the infrastructure and supporting solutions. And that is where we come as a team. And I would request Somyo from IBM to share more about this transformation journey. Somyo has a technical issue with the camera. However, you would be hear him very clearly. Over to you, Somyo.
Hey, thanks, Satyam. Thanks a lot for that wonderful introduction. So, a very good evening to all of you. As Satyam introduced me, my name is Somyo. So, I am with IBM for the last 13 years, and in my current role, I take care of the SAP HANA practice for IBM systems. So, without wasting any more of your time, let me quickly tell you how the infrastructure journey for SAP has evolved. So now, when you talk about the infrastructure journey, what you see out here, how the infrastructure journey for SAP HANA has evolved. And then I will talk briefly how IBM has played a part to ensure that the journey has been delivered well on our platform, right? So a bit of history. If you look at SAP HANA, it's not that old. It's like a 10-year-old platform in the industry today. And if you look at it, it started all with appliances because SAP at that point of time were one of the first kind of platforms to offer something in memory. So they started with an appliance approach where everything from an infrastructure point of view, which is your processor, your memory, your storage configuration, including your network, was controlled by SAP and delivered to you as an appliance format. But as they started progressing in the journey and they started with BW on HANA, and as they started seeing that HANA as a platform really makes a technical sense for customers, and as they progress the journey towards other platform, what they figured out is that from a pure infrastructure point of view, delivering HANA in an appliance format is not going to make a commercial sense for customers as far as their infrastructure deployments are concerned. So hence they came with different TDI approaches. So TDI 1 was the first of the approaches where they said that, okay, you can use your own existing storage. Only thing that existing storage has to meet certain performance parameters, which we used to previously call as throughput and latency measured by a tool called hardware check tool. Now it is called HCMT, cloud management tool. Now, then what they did was that they started separating the network, which was TDI phase 2. Then what they did was they figured out that most of the customers, the ECC might be a large instance, but if you look at the other instances, they are very small. So they introduced the 2-socket Intel servers and they called it the TDI version 3. Now, once they were doing this, what they figured out is that the one problem they are able to solve is they're allowing customers to use their own infrastructure or use components which does not require such a high amount of scalability that the highest bin of Intel processors were offering, right? Now, the problem of a sprawl was still not getting solved because at the end of the day, they were not able to use the concept of virtualization. Hence, they came up with the TDI phase 4. IBM worked with SAP and we had some of our top customers working in that project. And we got SAP certified on IBM platform. And we were the first platform to certify virtualization. And we started with 4 HANA production databases on a single server. And today we can run around 16 production HANA databases on a single server. So that was the starting point and the pain point we addressed as far as SAP is concerned on HANA. So since we could virtualize, we could directly take care of the infrastructure footprint problem that SAP was facing till TDI phase 3. Now, as they moved forward, what they figured out is that either they take any one of these TDI or an appliance approach, they're able to now reduce the infrastructure sprawl, but they are not able to improve the ROI, which is utilization of your infrastructure. So they came with a TDI version 5 concept and a 6 concept where the OEM, along with your SAP partner like EY, decides the hardware sizing required to deliver the required performance for the SAP environment and designs the solution and owns the performance of it. So hence TDI 5 came into picture only to ensure that the return of investment from your infrastructure of your SAP is improved. Now, I will quickly talk to you how IBM is different. Like now, these are the 4 pillars of IBM, and whether we talk SAP to you or we talk a financial workload to you, these 4 pillars are paramount either of those workloads. So first is flexibility, which we call virtualization. Since we can virtualize multiple HANA databases, your non-HANA applications on the same server. So typically any SAP HANA deployment on IBM ranges between 2 to 3 servers, either 2 socket servers, 3 2-socket servers, or 2 to 3 high-end servers, which is 4 sockets scalable to 16 sockets. So that's the unique advantage. And the other advantage is that we have zero virtualization vulnerability or performance impact since we are firmware based. Next is performance. Now, I don't need to talk much on it, but only thing I would like to say here is that being RISC, we will always have a better performance on a per core basis against my closest competitor as far as SAP HANA is concerned, which is x86. But what we mean by performance is that if I am delivering you a latency and throughput of X and Y on a 1 terabyte HANA database, I will be able to deliver the same kind of latency and throughput when I move to 2 terabytes. You will not see additional lags coming on because your HANA database is increasing. Third is resiliency, which is your unplanned downtime. Now, for 14 continued years, IBM Power Systems has been leading that unplanned downtime curve compared to any of the x86 vendors, and both Linux and AIX running on IBM Power has the least amount of IBM downtime. And if you want to validate this point, at your spare time, go to Google and check for ITIC 2020 survey, reliability survey, and you will get that entire PDF report, and you will see that what I am talking is absolutely right. Now, when you compare all these 3 things, what you truly get, now, we have seen customers on both sides of the world who wants to compare only on how much I get it for versus how much I will run it for. Now, when you take all these 3 things into account and you deploy your SAP HANA on IBM systems, what you clearly get is a better total cost of acquisition and a better ROI, because we intend to reduce your total cost of ownership, because the trend we are seeing is that majority of the customers wants to host their workloads on a third-party data center, and since we need less number of servers and storage to deploy the whole infrastructure, what we end up doing is that we end up saving rack space for you, which is pure OpEx savings. So in summary, the difference that IBM systems makes for HANA is that we have maximum HANA memory per core, maximum SAPs per core. We can run multiple HANA production database instances to the tune of 16 on a single server, and reliability, which takes care of your unplanned downtime. And when you look at an IBM solution, we control the stack right from your processor to your server to your memory to your operating system to your virtualization and to the level of your overall storage stack as well as backup. We control the entire stack. And what it has led to, we started in 2015. Now I'm talking the India story. We have 210 customers in India as of now. 90 of them were the ones who moved to x86 in the first stage, and now when they move to HANA, they move to IBM Power. We are 100% TDI. So if you're looking for an appliance, we can always tell you why an appliance will make sense or not make sense for your environment, but we are TDI. And on an overall in Indian market, we have around 22% market share. Now, the HANA story is not complete if I don't talk about the operating system, because that's also a critical part. There are 3 facades to HANA. One is your implementation. Next is your infrastructure. Either you consume it on-prem, hosted, or on cloud. And third and most important is the operating system. Now, as far as SAP HANA is concerned, there are only 2 certified operating systems to run HANA DB. One is SUSE and the other one is Red Hat. Now, how Red Hat complements this overall story, for that I will request my next speaker, Mr. Raghuraman Sitaraman from Red Hat, to come and talk about it. Over to you, Raghu. Thank you.
Thanks, Soumya. Yeah, good afternoon to all. Hope all of you are doing well. My name is Raghu, and I manage the SAP charter for Red Hat. Now, what is it that SAP, how is it that SAP and Red Hat are engaging to deliver value, right? Now, if you look at the SAP messaging, right? SAP talks about an intelligent enterprise, right? And they have these 7 imperatives that they would want organizations to adopt, right, to eventually become an intelligent enterprise. Things like integration out of the box, cloud native architectures, applied intelligence, next generation data management, open platforms and secure platforms, right? Now, of course, Red Hat has been engaging heavily with SAP, and then the solutions that you see in the red section of the screen are essentially certified by SAP, right? Now, when you talk about integration out of the box and resonating with the SAP messaging of the API first policy, Red Hat has its integration suite of products with Fuse and 3Scale, right? Now, this also resonates with the message that SAP talks about in terms of keeping the code clean and side-by-side extensibility, right? Now, when you talk about cloud-native architectures, Red Hat is a leader in the hybrid cloud infrastructure, right? Red Hat OpenShift and its platform and technologies for containerization is leading that space. We also work with SAP to ensure that some of the SAP technologies are made available both on-prem and on the cloud to ensure that there is a nice experience of the hybrid cloud infrastructure, right? So these are some of the initiatives that's work in progress. Of course, there is the Red Hat UBI image, right? The Universal Business Image, which ensures more of this develop once and deploy anywhere modalities as well. Now, when you talk about applied intelligence, right? Red Hat has worked with SAP, and the RHEL for SAP solutions, which builds in features of AI and ML, right? Wherein which we tie in the infrastructure layer and the application layer, right? Which essentially, brings in efficiencies in terms of management of this whole SAP ecosystem. So that's something that's enabled through our technologies. And of course, in the next gen data management space, as we speak, you will know that SAP has already embarked on containerizing many of its applications. Now, to name a few, SAP Data Hub, which is now called SAP Data Intelligence, is already certified on OpenShift, and SAP Commerce is also certified on OpenShift. So if some of you are embarking on the journey, this is a technology that you can take advantage of, right? And as we go by, you will see more and more of these applications being certified on Red Hat OpenShift. Of course, when we come to open platforms and security, this is the heart of Red Hat. We are an open source company. We are the largest open platform, and we pay very special focus to security. And you will see that resonating well in the data centers. 67% of the paid Linux market is with Red Hat. Next slide, please. Yeah. So 3 simple messages as to where we add value. We enable running of SAP in a smooth way and a secure way, right? Now, on RHEL and with certain fine tunings done specifically for SAP, right? And using our AI ML capabilities, you could today run SAP HANA and its applications. On OpenShift, on the Red Hat OpenShift, you can today run SAP Data Intelligence or Data Hub as it was called, and SAP Commerce solutions. Now, once you're running SAP, how do you go ahead and simplify it, right? So there are smart management capabilities built into the operating system, right? Where we tie in the application and the infrastructure space to ensure there are quite a lot of efficiencies that we drive there. And of course, embracing automation, right? Now, automation is not new in the data center. Now, we are extending Ansible automation, right, into the SAP space. Now, be it your migration scenarios, be it your deployment scenarios, or your day 2 scenarios, right? Now, you can bring in quite a lot of efficiencies in repeatable tasks and an ongoing basis with Ansible automation. So the message, run SAP, simplify SAP, and now we're leading into this extend SAP, where SAP is spending a lot of time educating people on keeping the core clean, right? So what they're telling customers is that don't customize heavy on the core. Keep the customization out of the core, and that gives an opportunity for containerization of that, right? And that also gives customers flexibility in deploying their workloads on demand, right? So the other message is side-by-side extensibility. Now, SAP is not the only application in the data center. It needs to talk to multiple other applications, third-party applications, homegrown applications, to ensure that there is seamless integration, right? So Red Hat OpenShift and the integration portfolio from Red Hat is essentially to enable these narratives that is coming out from SAP. So 3 simple messages, and the technologies to enable that: run SAP, simplify SAP, and extend SAP. Next slide, please. So how does this all come together, right? Now, all the technologies that we briefly heard about Red Hat is available in its complete capabilities on the Power platform, right, on IBM Power. Right now, today, for example, you could run your HANA and your SAP applications on Red Hat Enterprise Linux. You can take full advantage of the AI/ML capabilities to ensure there is better efficiencies in the data center. On the Red Hat OpenShift, you could run data intelligence and commerce applications, and of course, the future ones as and when they are coming up. Not only that, you can also have your own application modernization strategies that you will run on this platform, right? Now, all of this is the application and the infrastructure, it gets tied in with EY consulting and implementation services, right, to ensure that there is customer success. Yeah. Next slide, please. Now with this, I would want to pass it on to Rohit Sood, who will be the moderator for the panel discussion. Rohit is the technical manager at IBM for cloud and cognitive systems. Rohit, over to you.
Hey, thank you, Raghu. Thank you for taking us through the seamless automation capabilities and open standard platform capabilities on Red Hat. And with this, I'm gonna first want to welcome everyone and would like to thank all the speakers before us. I hope everyone is doing safe and sound. Taking it forward, we just heard from EY, IBM, and Red Hat on how an enterprise can use IBM systems running Red Hat to maximize digital transformation and modernization of mission critical workloads like SAP. Also wanted to share you that IBM, Red Hat, EY are working together and co-investing in new solutions to increase the sustainability and resiliency that companies will need to succeed in today's rapidly changing environment, right? This alliance is certainly going to help clients maximize the benefits for their businesses. So let's hear more on the same from the esteemed panel. Today afternoon, we have with us Ravi Jain, Director Server Solutions, IBM India South Asia. Sanjay Lula, Synergy Leader, IBM and Red Hat. From EY, we have Vikas Kalucha, Associate Partner, SAP Practice, EY. And you all already heard Satyam. He is also part of the panel, and Satyam is the Director, Technology Consulting, EY. Before I jump into a Q&A session with the panel, let me request again to all the participants to type in your questions or queries on the question and answer window. We will try to answer them at the end of the panel discussion. So let me pick Vikas first. Vikas, this is for you. In the light of current challenges, and we understand everybody is going through the pandemic, and we have seen businesses evolving, trying to cope with especially these tough times, right? How do you see IT playing a pivotal role during this testing times? And when you look at SAP as a background, how does SAP is helping evolving businesses and ensure this modernization and futuristic requirements being addressed by the clients?
Sure, definitely, Rohit. Thank you so much. So while we are seeing that a lot of focus that has shifted during the pandemic time towards work from home, e-education, a lot of businesses, new businesses which have started taking a focus is primarily towards the e-commerce, e-education, supply chain and logistics. While all the deliveries have to be maintained, have taken a primary role over here. While we need to see the product quality, delivered to the destination in the qualitative parameters as being required by the medical staff or by various other requirements of the customers, is primarily of paramount importance. In addition to that, data, specifically availability of tracking of life-saving equipment, readiness tracking, and availability at the end customer is also very, very important. On top of that, all the transactions, they have been moving towards the banking, seamless transactions is an important area that the business needs to take care of. While the backbone of this is primarily towards the telecom networks, connectivities, and above all, not to mention the least, the security and the fraud detection, while we are carrying out all the transactions, have become paramount importance as far as the businesses are concerned. Now, how SAP has been helping and can help, where we did deliberate upon the various transformation activities. First is the simplistic architecture. The cloud variants, virtualization, containerization is of paramount importance while we are creating a simplistic architecture. Interoperability of the data, which is not only just the operational data, plus the data which is from the third parties reaching to the customers, is becoming very, very important. Third part is more from the analytics. It is not only the structured analytics, but unstructured data which is available for the analytics is going to be very important over here. And most of the use cases where analytics will be run will be consuming the AI applications as well as the machine learning for the actionable insights that the businesses would be consuming. Not the least, the user interface, UI, UX interface with the enterprise system, user access, and also the natural language and the processing that would be required to be consumed by these enterprise systems. The speed of innovation and the innovation to be reached to the customers would also be of paramount importance to the last mile, which can definitely be achieved through the cloud solutions. So in the nutshell, these are some of the businesses and functionalities that would be required for the future of the businesses and applications.
Thanks, Vikas. I think perfectly articulated. In the times which we are in, I think being agile is the most paramount capability which every organization are looking at, and how quickly they can change their businesses in these tough times. On the same thought, Ravi, shifting gears from a software to a hardware perspective, we have looked at many of our clients going through this pandemic and understanding how we can keep our services up and running all the time. What do you feel in terms of a mission critical application? How important is the stable infrastructure requirement? Of course, we all know that when you talk about a table, the 4 legs has to be strong enough to hold the load on the top. So I realized this in terms of our discussion with many of our clients. So what are your thoughts on the choice of infrastructure for mission critical workloads like SAP? And what are the benefits which IBM brings on the table?
So thanks for asking me this, Rohit. And currently, in the context of the pandemic and in the wake of the last 8 to 12 months, whatever has transpired, one thing which has come back onto the spotlight is how do I take care of the digital resiliency of my organization, right? So in various conversations with our CIOs, one thing which has emerged very strongly is how do I make sure that I have the right access to my applications, right access to the data for my clients, for my own employees, and that helps in running the business. More so because, like Vikas was mentioning about various new kind of applications, AI, machine learning, deep learning, usage of sharing of data across data processors, right? Data processors is something which is important. Now, talking purely from an infrastructure standpoint, I think the resiliency is a big, I would say, requirement. Now, just to give you an example, one of the large automakers in India doing 10% of their overall transactions of the year, 10% of the annual transactions on the day of Dhanteras, right? And that being done without the need of any incremental capacity physically deployed, and not doing tweaking on the work, so-called servers or storage infrastructure. That basically talks about the resilience that the IBM systems bring on the table. I would leave you with one thought, Rohit. While the throughputs, the speeds and feeds are essential, another requirement which is emerging very clearly for organizations is today you have a core mission critical infrastructure which was supposed to be the ERPs which were taking these workloads. Now, with the digital transformation coming in, it is a no-brainer that multiple cloud environments will also come into the whole picture. The way the overall hybrid cloud gets delivered to the customers is an important aspect. And in that sense, the future, as we see it, is completely collaborative, which essentially means that a lot of open source components, a lot of open collaboration workloads come into the picture, which from an infra requirement standpoint, pose requirements like compatibilities, right? To be able to host various platforms, not just the Unix environments, but the Linux and the open source environment in the same gear, so to say. So that is one big focus area for IBM, to be able to host all the open source and the Linux-based workloads along with the core mission critical applications that we do and the middleware. Now, and in the context of SAP, last 5 to 7 years of journey that we have seen, we have clearly committed ourselves to the roadmap around Linux, and no better friends from Red Hat to talk about some of the open source initiatives. So that's all from my side on the infra side.
I'll quickly jump on, Dave. You mentioned Linux. I'll quickly jump on to you, Sanjay. Ravi used open word in his sentence, I think almost about 6 to 8 times. How do you feel that, from a, not specifically from a Red Hat perspective, but when you look at an SAP as a wide ERP platform, how does an open platform make sense for businesses to adopt when they look about gearing up their businesses to run these core mission critical workloads, right?
Yeah, thank you. So I will answer it from both perspectives. First of all, when we look at an SAP environment, we know that the SAP HANA workload especially is a very different workload in comparison to many other workloads we have seen. So the classical ERP, the SAP ECC, they were all very different construct in comparison to what SAP HANA is. So first of all, you need an operating system or a operating platform which can meet the requirements of this particular workload. So for example, HANA is all about memory-based computing. HANA is all about a very powerful IO stack. HANA is all about trying to unify and consolidate across various data sources. So you also have to give very high RAS features, right? You have to create a construct of an operating system which can really support very, very high RAS. So for that, from that perspective, looking at an open source operating system environment which meets these HANA requirements is very important, which is, I think, the first thing which Red Hat implemented. Red Hat RHEL is the platform of choice for most Linux workloads across the world, and RHEL has built a foundation which is created for the workloads like SAP HANA. A second area which I would say is very important is to achieve consistency, because in any environment you will have a lot of workloads. Most workloads today are actually open workloads, probably sitting on a container environment or even sitting on standalone Linux environments. It is important to achieve consistency in that data center, because you would want to create an environment from a manageability standpoint which is very, very scalable, and that is one big benefit which the RHEL operating environment brings you, because not only is it built for SAP HANA, it is a common operating system which allows you to integrate across, which I would use the word harmonize across SAP environments as well as non-SAP environments, and that becomes a big plus. You also have situations where clients would like to have clear compliance environments across the entire stack, and this is where the RHEL construct is very useful. One more area which is important is to bring down operational costs. So while SAP HANA, people have the experience of using SAP Early Watch. Now, Early Watch is SAP's way of bringing in predictive analytics and ensuring that the environment is actually stable. You need the same thought process from an operating environment as well. So what we have is a very, very unique set of capabilities by using applications like Insight as well as Smart Management, which not only help you predict issues, it also helps you to remediate issues. So the intent is to ensure that no downtime happens ever across networks, servers, compute, storage. That entire construct is managed very efficiently by Insight as well as by Smart Management. It actually goes to a point where once you run the Insight tool in a Red Hat environment, it gives you a very curated map of the entire environment, including the SAP landscape. It actually helps you create a dashboard which is sorted on the SIDs of the SAP servers. You can't go more granular than that. It's like creating an environment which is a very application focused environment rather than an infrastructure focused environment. So those are some of the real good things which we achieved. There's also a thought of automation, because you would like to migrate from an earlier environment to a SAP HANA environment. You would like to deploy, you would like to make configuration changes, and most of all, you would like to bring efficiency in your day-to managed services. Now, these are the areas where our implementation partners like EY will really benefit from, because we have created a stack which not only helps you with basic automation of all of IT, but also helps you to migrate, deploy, configure, as well as do day-to managed services. And I would say the most important thing is a future roadmap, because once you start adopting these technologies, especially the Red Hat solutions, you open yourself into a world of container-ready solutions. You open to the world of unified API management. You open to the world of enhanced automation. So I think that roadmap is also very important.
Yep. Thanks, Sanjay. I think great articulation. I think I'll jump to Satyam now. Satyam, coming back to you, I think we heard you. That was a great summary of what ENY brings on the table from an SAP landscape. But then when it comes to SAP HANA journey specific, what would you be giving as a recommendation for the clients? I know this is a long topic. We can sit across the table and debate 7 days a week on this topic to understand how the journeys are. But then at a high level, what would you be recommendations would be if customers are moving into this HANA journey, how should they start off, and what are the key things we should keep in the mind?
Sure, thanks, Rohit. And you are right. We can spend days and weeks on this topic. While my fellow panelists have very well articulated that how today's date customers are spoiled on the functionalities and the support system that the infrastructure and the operating system brings on the table. I think one of the key aspects which customers should look at while starting on SAP HANA journey is whether they are, and I mentioned that in my earlier discussion, that whether they are looking this as a transformation project or not. Okay. Sanjay mentioned on harmonizing, whether they are doing the harmonization of their processes and using this opportunity to harmonize it or not. So probably they can spend some time in ensuring that the process harmonization, the process optimization is considered pretty well. They will be able to leverage the real power of HANA. Today, there are a lot of LOB solutions which SAP offers them on the cloud. However, HANA being the foundation of them to leverage these LOB solutions, they should seriously look at a process harmonization, process optimization led SAP HANA project. They should not look at a pure technology upgrade project. While there would be some exceptions, I understand there would be some impeding needs for them to gradually move on to S4 HANA, which is all fine. However, they should take some time to ensure that the core foundation is well established for them to have a long-term view.
Thank you. That was short and sweet. And of course, we have been working along with you in taking many of our clients through this journey. And of course, we will be doing so in future as well. Ravi, over to you again. I'm saying from a new age workload, which Sanjay talked about, from an application modernization or from all this, I think most of the times, I think the myth is that only the x86 platform can run these modernized workloads. Would you want to throw a light on how does IBM bring in this new age capabilities to run these workloads and how they will be able to run it more efficiently on IBM systems? Considering the availability, security, and the reliability are the major factors to accomplish during this implementation timelines.
So, Rohit, let me answer this in the context of two things. One, what is happening on the workloads? So, I touched upon this very briefly, that the workloads are becoming more and more towards AI, machine learning, deep learning, all the digital transformation, so to say, which is bringing in the Linux environment, which basically means heterogeneous operating environments coming in. A lot which are getting mixed with the overall existing landscapes, because we are not talking about something which is completely coming out of from scratch, because you already have an IT which exists and the new things are supposed to get get attached to what we already have. So in that sense, there is a control element which comes in, right? So from an infrastructure standpoint, whether it is on-premise, whether it is public cloud, whether it is multiple public cloud, you need to have a fulcrum which serves as a control point. And that is exactly, being serviced with the help of cloud as a capability. Cloud not as a destination, but cloud as a capability which, provides that agility which is required. Now, at this point in time, everybody should make a distinction between the commercial aspect of cloud and the capability of cloud. Okay, because commercial aspects, making it a OpEx model, it is actually depends upon what kind of workload you're running, how predictable that workload is or it is not, how much kind of capex investments are required, and the obvious choice is to look at the overall total cost of ownership. Now, when we talk about Power as a platform, what we bring on the table is the capability to run these digital workloads. So, which is all the Linux flavors, the container platforms, right? Because that basically forms the layer for all the microservices architecture to be enabled, the containers to be managed across these new workloads. So the total cost of ownership comes down by using a higher performance processor, and it is a given, right? That helps the organizations not just from the commercial aspect, but also reducing the overall server sprawl or the infrastructure sprawl. So it is not just the cost of the server or storage, but the overall sprawl of networking, fiber networking, Ethernet networking, backups, right? So everything actually gets reduced. The second aspect, Rohit, is all about enabling these technologies with the help of what you already have as far as infrastructure is concerned. Right now, when we talk about core Red Hat Core OS or Red Hat container layer being available, right? There are capabilities of the platform which help in an efficient running of these workloads. The example which I gave about that 10% of annual workload running on a single day, right? That is not the function of application, but it is the function of hardware, right? So bringing these two things together, which is the capability of the platform to give a robust throughput, the high availability, the resiliency, combining that with the capability to run multiple new operating environments, that really helps organizations get the cloud capability to life, right? It brings the cloud capability to life. Now, please don't mistake me when I say cloud capability. It is not about that, cloud is the whole and soul, right? Cloud is, when I talk about cloud, I mentioned it before also, but let me reiterate, it is about the agility aspect, about getting things done much faster, having an application which can respond to the business requirement much faster as compared to it was doing earlier. Changing the development times from 3 months to just a few weeks or maybe a few days and sometimes a few hours, right? That is what we are enabling by putting this gear on IBM systems. So that's all from my side, Rohit.
Thank you, Ravi. I think talking about development cycles, we all understand how the world is moving on the container side. Sanjay, coming back to you, from a CI/CD pipelines to containers, we all talk about these new age microservices workload. We also understand SAP is also working on this similar layers to move the traditional SAP workloads into a new age environments. So if you want to share something on some insights on this, how SAP is evolving themselves to move into this new journey of containers and microservices.
Absolutely. So I think it is now a given that the entire world is moving from monolithic applications to microservices. More and more applications are now being made available, to a point that even top core banking applications and top manufacturing applications are actually moving to microservices. So the notion of containers is really gaining ground, and I completely agree with Ravi that when it comes to capability of infrastructure, I think Power is the best when it comes to creating really dense container environments, right? So that is what really matters, because virtualization was the old thought. The current thought is all about containers. Now, what customers are doing is that they are actually taking OpenShift. Red Hat has a solution called OpenShift, which is the OpenShift container platform, and this is the de facto standard when it comes to Kubernetes, a managed Kubernetes environment. And the way customers are actually adopting this is that they are making it a platform of choice, and they are building their own applications, in-house applications, which are now container ready. They are building third-party ISV applications, for example, DMS applications or manufacturing applications which are actually container ready. They are building AI ML models on OpenShift. They are building a DevOps environment, like you said, CI/CD. They are building DevOps environments on OpenShift. So OpenShift is actually becoming a de facto IT, I would say, a cloud operating system, which gives you the flexibility to create workloads at one place and actually migrate them wherever you want. It actually gives you workload mobility. Also gives you a scale out environment. This is something which the world has been waiting for many years, but scale out is something which we need. You want to build an application using a construct, and then you want to go on adding containers or worker nodes on the fly, because you have a day when your sales are going to be the highest, right? It could be the big billion day, or it could be whatever, right? So you need capabilities to scale up, you need capabilities to scale down, you need capabilities to scale out, and all this is actually created using the world of containers. Now, SAP, if I were to look at the SAP environment, SAP today, we have two parts of SAP which are completely available on containers. This is a journey, this is a roadmap. Obviously, many more parts of the ecosystem are being made container ready. But today, the SAP Commerce is completely available on OpenShift containers. And one very important aspect, which is data intelligence, is also available on containers. Now, data intelligence is interesting because when you have an SAP environment, you think of so many different applications which also have data, and I need to bring that data into an SAP environment for me to run my enterprise resource planning. Now, if you have to bring data from other applications, and those applications could be homegrown, could be ISV, could be container ready applications, they could be whatever. How will I do that? I will do that only if I have a methodology with which I can create a platform, and that methodology is the data intelligence methodology of SAP. Now, because that sits on OpenShift, and OpenShift is also the repository for many other container applications, it actually creates a very, very fluid environment with which SAP data intelligence can now extract data from all these applications and feed it into SAP for you to generate insight. That insight is what will help you to finally drive your business better. So this entire construct about data intelligence and SAP Commerce is one area, but there are many other parts of that ecosystem which are now being created container ready. Also, take the example of Cloudera. For example, if you want to create hooks into a Cloudera environment, then you need a construct where you have a methodology with which you can exchange data, and that is what this entire thought process helps you achieve.
And thank you, Sanjay. And I think with this, we are almost there at the end of the hour. I want to thank again Vikas, Satyam, Ravi, and Sanjay for answering my questions. We have still about 2-3 minutes, so I'll pick up one of the questions and answers which have not been answered. And by the way, thank you to all my fellow panelists and the speakers who have been answering those questions. I'll pick up one, and probably I'll give it to not the hardware guy, so I'll give it to Satyam for you. What are some of the challenges? So by the way, this is from Vinayak Pai. What are some of the challenges or problems in the existing environment that can be considered whistleblowers sounding the need for a transformation? I think this is a very valid question. If you want to throw some lights, and then I'll give it to Ravi for adding the hardware tadka on top. Yeah, Satyam, to you.
Sure. So I think not going too much close to the word whistleblower.
Yeah.
However, the need for transformation, I think, has been pretty evident, and we have clients who have gone through that journey, and when we see those clients vis-a-vis other clients who have managed the current pandemic, I think it is pretty evident. The ones who have already traveled and kind of be factory ready for such unexpected, unbelievable calamity to happen. right? So I think need, there is no answer to it. Need is like it is evident. However, I think while I have been harping upon the optimization piece and the harmonization piece, I think like Sanjay mentioned, there are a lot of areas where clients are looking to ensure niche solutions, right? As a part of the transformation journey. While there is a core which is in place, but they are very, very interested in whether I can have a small chatbot which can ease the way a given process was running earlier, right? Whether I can automate my entire the invoices coming from vendors, how much automated it can be, while tomorrow again if there is a lockdown for n number of months, can that process be as smooth as possible? So clients are, and last 1 year, I think there has been 100% hit rate in all our projects or discussions with our clients, that all these needs have been broken down into core and niche needs, and that is where a process improvement piece comes handy. While we have been implementing S4 HANA for last 5-6 years and advising clients, what we have been doing is we have been adding a lot of templates, accelerators, solutions, which helps clients achieve these small, while technologically these would be a small aspect in the overall scale. However, there is a lot of business benefit that brings on the table. So yes, transformation is the new mantra for anyone who wants to start on SAP HANA. While I think there was a similar question which I saw from one of the attendees on whether, and if I can just continue answering that,
Sure.
whether SAP HANA is going, the ECC support is going end of support 2025. I think
Correct.
I think they can see the latest product roadmap from SAP. However, as per my information, I think it is till 27 and extended support till 2030. Yeah. So while it is from the product standpoint, and there are a lot of clients who are yet to start that journey, I think today we are on the cusp of having seen the earlier technology perform and having choices of the new age technologies knocking our door. So I think this is the right time to start if their business strategy permits.
Got it. I think Ravi, you want to add on the hardware
I
side?
will just add one comment here with respect to Vinayak's question. And Vinayak, and I'll put it very crudely, right? That if as an IT organization, if you're not able to meet the demands of your business side or your customers, and more often than not, the reason is that, because it will take X amount of time to develop that functionality. That means the reason is not the unreasonability of the business demand, right? It is actually the limitation of so-called development of, or the development environment there. That is where at least you should start thinking about whether a transformation, or at least, or transformation also could be in smaller steps as well.
Yes.
So it may not be a complete revamp. We're not talking about a complete rip and replace, but that is what will definitely sow the seeds of transformation there.
Okay, I have one point to make. Shall I add?
Yeah, please go ahead, Sanjay. I think Rohit has got a freeze.
So I'm just trying to exemplify this with a real case. So let's say there is a car manufacturing company, and the car manufacturing company has to do a product recall. Now, product recall could be in terms of spares, or it could be in terms of a particular unit, etc. Now, at that point in time, there's a very good example of transformation, because this pandemic has taught us that digital intervention and cloud native technologies and being agile and all that is very important. And there are many companies who have survived just because of the level of digital intervention they did, and automated it to a point where clients do not need to do, they just need to use normal tools, right? So this car manufacturing company, if they do a product recall, they have to go and talk to the manufacturing database in terms of which particular lots of cars had those particular issues in terms of recall. And then they also have to talk to the dealer management system to figure out through which dealers they have to get the intervention completed. And then they also have to talk to their communication systems, which could be a CRM or whatever, in terms of how do we communicate with customer and get this all completed. So I think in this part of transformation also is important about API, because companies are trying to figure out how they can talk internally within their sub companies, within their sub applications, and also talk to applications in from different organizations, those people who are actually exposing their applications through API. So this notion of API is becoming very, very important. And like I said, that we need methods with which we can exchange information between applications, databases, and outside organization as well. That the infusion of API in these kind of SAP HANA implementations is also becoming absolutely paramount. And this is opening up a completely new world for us.
Thank you. Sorry, I lost my network.
Just wanted to add to that as well.
Go ahead.
While we're talking about the transformation, and Sanjay brought in a point of APIs. In fact, within a certain application like customer service module, we can always use for maybe for internal IT customers as well as for internal HR people as well. Because finally, it is a customer servicing module, and the similar servicing module can be used within the IT systems for your internal IT customers as well as for your HR folks as well. So while the transformation is being done, the cost optimization can also be achieved through interoperability of the similar system.
Absolutely.
Yep. Thank you, Vikas, and thank you again to all. I think we are already overshoot by 5 minutes. I think I will give it back to Mohit to wrap it up. Mohit, over to you.
Thank you, Rohit. So that was indeed a wonderful discussion. I am sure there have been many takeaways for the audience from this discussion. So with this, we now come to the end of this webinar. I thank all our speakers and panelists for sparing their time and joining us today and sharing their insights. Also thank us audience for taking out some time and participating in this webinar. We look forward to welcoming you in our future webinars soon. Have a great day. Thank you all.